But then so if you're just putting out the facts, then you're just putting out the facts.
Mm-hmm. That's what you're supposed to do, right?
Right.
You deal with facts.
But then, okay, you're saying deal with the facts.
Facts have no emotion.
Are you putting out the facts? Right. Those who think the truth is hate the truth. I love that statement.
They just are what they are, right?
But what are you going to... I just don't understand how you're going to teach racism out. So hold on. I've been trying to get to this damn story for half an hour. On the on the ship, the guys get in the Navy. They come out to the ship, okay?
Yeah.
Let's skip all the training. They get to the ship. I had to deal with people that had never seen a black person before in their whole life that were in the Navy. I did kids from the inner city that thought that we were all going to shoot them, and they were scared to go to sleep.
Yep.
Whole thing. Got the whole thing. But once you had them all together, one 30-day cruise, and all the bullshit, all that other stuff is still there, but they do come to the realization that, maybe not all whites are corn-fed redneck pieces of shit fucking, and then the other guy's like, maybe not all inner city motherfuckers are pieces of shit.
Because they had to what? Sit down?
No, because they had to work together.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the whole point.
But they did this as adults. Is what I'm saying.
If you started as children, then you don't have that issue in the future as adults.
But okay, so how are you going to incorporate? Because all that happened in the military was you put two people together and they had to live together. That's basically it. They had to live in the same space. They had to work together. They were with each other 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
You're not going to do that to kids. Are you suggesting?
But
hold on. So you're suggesting we're going to go ahead and take everybody's children.
I'm not quite suggesting that we go back to the boarding school model. I'm just saying that it has been done. And I'm not saying that it's an impossible or inconceivable thing to do said future. Or even if we wanted to do that, your regular education system already integrates most families.
Okay, so here's what I'll ask then. If you're okay with just the facts being put out, all right, that's all you want, is the facts in your schools. Are you okay with getting rid of the Department of Education then? And doing the individual schools, or do the ticket schools, or whatever they're talking about.
School vouchers?
School vouchers, yeah. Do you support that, or do you... Because if it's just about facts and education...
There's dangers adherent to...
Such as?
Well, St. Thomas Academy.
Okay.
The prime example of what happens when you start dealing with, like, private school seclusion.
Okay.
Where we've got excessively wealthy people who live in their excessively wealthy bubble, who have their view of an excessively wealthy world, that don't know how to deal with individuals like you or me on a regular basis.
Sorry.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like socially, they just don't. They have no clue how to actually sit down at the table with us without one of us wanting to smash one of their faces into the table. Facts.
I'm past that at this phase of my life, but there was a time, yes.
You would think so. You would think so, but there's people that'll push your buttons. And I'm not saying that these things aren't beneficial. They have their positive, they all have their positives, but there's an inherent set of negatives that come with a lot of private.
So when you were at the academy, you got to experience a world that I've never even experienced. I've never been hung around wealthy people. Yeah, I can imagine. So it's one of those where now obviously were you the okay, let me rephrase that. Stop the obviously. Were you the only black person there?
In my class, when I graduated, I was the only one. It was of African American descent. Was I the only brown person? There were two Indian dudes and a Hispanic dude and a couple of Asian guys.
Okay.
When I started, there was a Jamaican and another African American dude. Both left by junior year. Javier Collins and Devin Gilchrist, and
So how did you feel
Michael
through that
and me
school?
were the only 3 black people in higher classes that I can remember. Oh, and Michael Butts. So 4 African American men that I can remember in the higher classes.
So how did that feel as far as you're there? How comfortable was the school? Did you feel safe at the school?
It was weird. So I was a superstar football player. So there's a level of
Popularity,
comfort.
protection.
There's a level of comfort that I was able to feel being who it was that I was at that time.
Okay.
I took being at that school as a personal challenge, like my personal sacrifice, like my Martin Luther King, Malcolm X moment in my young life.
Okay.
It was one of those.
Shouldn't have laughed. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I mean, like, it was a difficult. First, I chose because of like my youth and the kind of dumb trouble that I would get into with girls. I chose to go to St. Thomas because it was an all male school. Like
That's smart.
It was the
It didn't
idea.
stop him.
The idea didn't stop me. The idea.
But it made it a little tougher.
The concept.
Maybe.
If anything, it facilitated my fucking thing. I didn't know it was going to turn out that way.
Okay.
But the idea was, if I go to an all-male school, I'll be able to avoid some of the dumb trouble that I generally get into.
And all of one sex is the best way to go.
And uniforms and football.
Uniforms and football. I got somebody that seen me play and was like, hey, we can do something for you. This is a good school for you to be able to do this thing. Whatever.
My neighbors got into that. Minnehaha Academy is where they went.
So I went. My sophomore year, somebody wrote nigger across my locker, and I lost my shit. I was like, I don't need to be here. I've been going to public schools. I went to Mississippi, and then I went to Ramsey Junior High, where like my diversity very thick. My first day of school at St. Thomas Academy, I had 4 guys walk up to me and touch my hair and say I was the first black person they had gone to school with. And I looked at him, I was like, if you ever touch me again, I'm going to punch you in your fucking face. Like, that's not okay. Pat me like a fucking dog.
No, that's pure shit.
You know what I'm saying?
See, I'd have punched him. God bless you for not. See, I'll admit, back.
My Malcolm X, Martin Luther King moment.
Actually, if I was in high school, no, I wouldn't have. That would have been a standard day for me.
My Martin Malcolm trial was St. Thomas Academy. That's how I looked at it. If I can get through this without hurting somebody, I can do anything. And I ended up getting Joe Keller after somebody wrote nigger on my locker, because I was going to leave and go to Cretan Durham Hall after that, because I was like, I can go to a school that's got black people. At least there's like some black people there, but at least like I had Arvesta Kelly, who was going to make me a starter for all 3 of my sports and shit. I was like, I can go there and still be the superstar,
Right.
and not skip a beat and not have to deal with
Your
this.
stupidity. Yeah.
This extra.
Yeah. And then they allowed me to essentially bring a friend in who was a friend. Joe was.
That's how Joe ended up at St. Thomas.
Yeah, it's because I had him come. I was like, dude, you don't like going to Como, right? He's like, no, I hate it here. I was like, come play football with me at St. Thomas. Please.
I didn't know that's how Joe got into St. Thomas.
And he was like, okay.
So
And
you actually ended
fucking-
up like doing some of the recruiting essentially to get Joe over there to.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
That was their deal with me to keep me at St. Thomas, where I was going to go. They were like, well, what can we do? I was like, I need a friend. Like a real one. Somebody that I can talk to when shit goes south here. Because shit is going to go south here. Real quick. And so they brought Joe in for me.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I always thought St. Thomas was fucked up, but we never really talked about that way of it being fucked up when we were younger.
It was easier for me to be the superstar and like ignore that shit when I was younger. But that's also why I ended up with a lot of drug problems and shit when I was older. It's me bottling up all of that fucked up shit that I was dealing with that I didn't want to talk to anybody about. Fucking like, nah, I'm just gonna fucking be a star. Party it up.
That's a good release. I didn't have that. I had music. Because I would do the whole thing where I was scrawny and I was easy to pick on and I was quiet and I just wanted to do my thing. And sometimes when I spoke, I said stupid stuff. You can see that's improved over my lifetime. And yeah, so I just tended to, when they came out with the Sony Walkman, that was the greatest creation in my lifetime.
Yeah. Put on headphones.
Yeah, and just, I could walk everywhere, didn't have to worry about anything else. It was just me and my music, wandering around, and yeah, it was, but I didn't have to deal with it like, yeah, I never really had to deal with that.
It was weird. I had friends there. I'm not gonna say that I didn't have friends at St. Thomas. I did. Like I made some good relationships. I mean, I'm still friends with a number of different people, and it's kind of funny because now like I'm friends now with dudes that I really didn't hang out with at the time when I was in high school. You know what I'm saying? They're friends with me now, and then they're starting to find out like I'm more of a geek than they realized. Like it's like, dude, I was a nerd then. You just didn't know how much of a nerd I was then because I was playing fucking football.
Right.
And didn't think that you could come and talk to me about all the nerdy shit that I actually fucking do.
Yeah.
You know.
And that was probably, it was probably not better for you, but it was, everybody had these ideas of you. Everybody had these expectations of you.
Right.
So, or high expectations of you. Well, for football.
For football specifically.
I mean, I think that's the fucked up thing that I got out of St. Thomas was that St. Thomas gave a fuck about football. They didn't really give a fuck about you.
They didn't give a fuck about me.
Yeah.
And that was the thing about the people there. Like, when I first got there, nobody wanted to fucking say shit to me. I wasn't gonna fit in there at all. I was an outsider. I was an inner city kid. I was poor. I had no business there. The only reason that they accepted me is because they put a fucking football in my hand and I ran circles around them. And they were like, holy fuck, who is this kid? And then they needed to be close to me because I was that dude. You know what I mean?
And imagine this. Imagine being on the other side of this, not trying to justify anything. I'm just devil's advocate here. Imagine being those rich kids and being there and having some inner city kid come in with an attitude, willing to bet you had an attitude back then.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So came in with an attitude,
but
humbled them because they thought they were the shit.
At the same time, I really wasn't much different than I am now. So it wasn't like I was blatantly disrespectful about shit. Like I had definite high confidence though.
Yeah. And that's like, intimidating.
You weren't going to be able to knock my confidence down.
And that's intimidating to a lot of. You're an alpha. There's no doubt about it. You are an alpha. There are a lot of betas out there who think they're alphas until a real alpha comes around.
True.
And when egos get crushed, stupidity happens.
Fair.
So you've got all these kids thinking they're the bomb and thinking they're all this in a bag of chips, and this is their academy and this. Then you come in with a fuck ton of confidence, excuse my language, and that is especially to a teenager. Imagine just being a teenage male. Just take that part.
Being a teenage male.
You know, imagine being that, but imagine being that kid and never having to deal with any kind of. If you grew up with wealth, there's a good chance you never had to deal with any kind of controversy, any kind of anything. If they were popular, the only reason it was popular is because mom and dad's money and their social circle. You're outside of that. You destroy their whole fake fantasy society. They think they're all this in a bag of chips. Then you come in and show them what a bag of chips looks like, and they're like, and they don't like that. That's an ego bruiser. And with kids that have money,
I liked being that guy.
And I'm sure
the
you did it.
Bruiser.
Yeah,
the ego bruiser.
And you would do
especially
it well.
Then that was something I was cocky about that shit. That hurt your feelings.
See, so yeah, you got to look at.
I was kind of
your
that.
Attitude,
I was that guy.
Your attitude probably
a little bit
got you into some of your problems, believe it or not.
A little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, what's the big
You would know more than me if I was actually more that arrogant, that level of it.
Well, I think kids don't. I think kids in general don't know the difference between confidence and arrogance.
True.
I don't think it's something they can perceive because no kid is. There's not a lot of kids that are quietly confident.